looking back.
Today, we gather in memory of Perry Brandenburg, loving husband, father, brother, papa, loyal friend, and so much more. Just so many. We're here to honor him, his life, his talents, his generosity, and to be together in loving support of each other. It's a special time for sharing stories and memories. On behalf of the family, thank you for being here today. Michelle especially thanks you for coming, as do other cherished family members, Perry's siblings, Ellie, Bernie, Bob, and their mother, Janet, Perry's children, Zach, Jake, Katie, Taylor, Eric, Sydney, and Ryan in memoriam, and Perry's grandchildren, who call him Papa Perry, Micah, Charlotte, Braden, and his bonus grandchildren, Sophia and Tigo. As we begin, let's take a moment of silence. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes and bring to mind the Perry you know and love. See him as you did in a recent moment, sharing a joke, making a sarcastic comment, enjoying a meal, or simply spending time with one of his beloved dogs, Lucy or Prudence, or even their dearly departed Marley, or working on one of his many cars. Hold that image, that moment, quietly in your heart, and feel his presence with us today. Our first reading, Death is Nothing at All, is a poem by Henry Scott Holland. This poem reminds us that the bonds we share don't simply disappear. Death is nothing at all. Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I have only slipped away into the next room. Nothing has happened. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, and you are you. The old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak of me in the easy way in which you always used to. Put no difference in your tone. Wear no forced air of sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes that we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without an effort, without the ghost of a shadow upon it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is absolute and unbroken continuity. What is this death but a negligible accident? Why should I be out of mind? Why should I be out of mind because I'm out of sight? But I'm waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. Nothing is hurt. Nothing is lost. One brief moment and all will be as it was before. And how we shall laugh at the trouble of parting when we meet again. I'd like to invite Perry's son, Zach, to come and share the first tribute, his own reflections along with the words from Perry's wife, Michelle.
I'm going to try to do this. But Zach's here for me. I may not look at anybody because I'll cry. It's okay. My husband. Each of you knew my husband, Perry, in your own way. As a friend, a coworker, even as family. But I wanted to share with you who he was to me. Okay. Perry was my everything. I know that sounds cliche, but it's the truth. We met later in life, and we often said how lucky we were, and we truly meant it. He changed me, and we changed each other in quiet, subtle ways, all for the better. We made each other's lives richer in so many ways. From the outside, our love may have looked easy, and honestly it was. It was peaceful, strong, and steady. I've never felt so secure or so deeply loved. We told each other I loved you multiple times a day. More than that. Not out of habit or playfulness, but simply because it was true. In the middle of watching TV or working on a car or whatever, one of us would just say it and the other would smile and say it back. And Perry would smile. He had the most incredible smile and the bluest eyes that truly twinkled. He was a true gentleman. He always opened doors for me, always put my needs, even when they were small, ahead of his own. This strong, incredibly intelligent man could fix or build anything. He once ground the tip of his finger off, and I'm not talking the tip, I'm talking a nice chunk of it. And all he did was ask for a bandage and kept going. He had something to do. But beneath the toughness was the kindest soul that I've ever known. He made everything look easy and gave his time and talents freely to anyone who needed help. And yet he never saw himself that way. He would always say, "I'm just a guy." And I would argue, and he would shrug. He never saw himself above anyone, not at work, not with friends, not ever. But Perry was not just a guy. He was selfless. With me, nothing was about him unless he knew I truly needed for nothing first. Every day began with, "What can I do for you today?" I would have to reassure him again and again before he would go out quietly, making our life run so smoothly. It almost was annoying. I'm like, "Nothing, stop." It's good, I'm good. Perry was my king. He showed me that love could be incredibly strong and still so gentle. Out of nowhere, he would grab me and dance with me in the kitchen. Sometimes singing in my ear, sometimes not. Music or no music. Those moments meant everything. He loved unconditionally, almost to a fault. He loved his family deeply and never once treated my children, Sydney or Ryan, as anything other than his own. The relationship between Sid and Perry was something special. After losing her dad, it wasn't easy for her to open up. And that's not even an understatement. But Perry, with his kindness and patience, built something with her that was entirely theirs. They had their own language, their own stuff. I just let it happen. It filled my heart to see it. His children were his pride and joy. He spoke about them in a way that made it clear how much they meant to him. And then came the grandbabies. He was completely in love with them. He would beam. The video calls with Micah and Charlie made his day, and he would be so happy when you said, "I talked to Micah this morning." Or sometimes Micah would call at night. I know it's not Micah calling, and then I could go on and on about it. It's not about me, but he would always say, "Mimi," and then he'd look at me and laugh, and I was like, "Perry, why is this child laughing at me all the time?" But whatever. The way he looked at them, even through a screen, was pure adoration. Perry loved deeply, but he carried hurt quietly. He didn't show it, and he didn't dwell on it. I was the more rabid one. And I would say, for those of you who know me, this is quite true. I was his fierce protector. When something hurt him, it hurt me even more. And I wanted to make it known my husband was not to be hurt or disrespected. There were a few times he was truly hurt by a person that he loved that he would and did do anything for, I wanted to address it. I wanted to rip people apart, confront and shame them. And I'm toning that down quite a bit. But Perry, in his calm and steady way, said it wouldn't change anything. He accepted what he couldn't control, and even when it hurt. As always, he was right. As always. I mean, once in a while I was right. And moving forward, I know I'll have to find that same strength to channel my inner Perry. Good luck to that. Perry was a perfectionist. I'm almost done, I swear. I could go on and on. Perry was a perfectionist. He took immense pride in everything he did. At home, at the mill, he was stubborn in the best way. He wanted things done right and wouldn't let anything stop him. If something wasn't right, he would start over without hesitation. We're building a deck, he'd rip it all apart again. Doing a car, he'd rebuild the motor again. I mean, and this one's chip off the old block, same thing. He rarely asked for help. Though I was lucky enough to get to work alongside of him on cars and various projects. And even when I wasn't helping, he would always want me nearby. He'd actually ask me to just be in his space. I love that. Even when I was sitting there watching terrible, trashy TV in the shop, he just wanted me close. He never judged me, not even for my messy closet, my love, I should have been hoarding of shoes, or the shows I watched. He just loved me. Our life was simple, quiet, and completely full. We had our 2 fur babies, Prue and Lucy, who we love beyond measure. They are grieving too. And I don't know that I'll ever be able to make up for how much he spoiled them, because they're obnoxiously spoiled. We never wanted for anything, but we were always trying to give each other more. He went above and beyond for me every single day, rubbing my feet, building me a car, sending me on a dream trip, letting me bring home another dog, or just making dinner, just anything. It was never about keeping score. Nobody wore the pants in this family. We were teammates. That's just who he was. He didn't want attention. He just wanted me to be happy and everyone around him. And while he never sought the spotlight, he finally got the immense success he so greatly deserved at Nippon Dynawave. I watched him become the kind of leader people hope for. He cared, he mentored, he guided, he respected everyone. I heard the impact he had on people's lives, and I saw it every day. And if you saw the things I was getting, notes, cards, flowers from people you'd never expect, union people, random people on the street, like it's outrageous. I listened to the endless calls day and night as he helped people through whatever they were facing. I was in awe of him. I told him how proud I was of him. I just hope he knew how incredibly he truly was, because he was a force, a true leader, a true man. We had this ongoing joke between us. Whether it was picking a movie or deciding where to go for dinner, he would always say, "It's not about me." That's what he'd say. And I'd say, "It's not about me." And he'd go, "It's not about me." And somehow he'd always won. And today, my love, it is all about you. I would give anything for it not to be. I will never know a better man. And I will spend the rest of my life being grateful that I got to love him and be loved by him. That's that. Thank you. I did that. Thank you. I didn't do it justice, but you did great.
Well, first, thanks everybody for being here. I couldn't bring myself to write anything, but we're going to give it a go anyway. So, first of all, any of y'all wearing ties? He'd be making fun of you right now, just so you know. But,
You know he is.
and I got to keep this short and sweet for my sake, and because you guys are going to hear the same things over and over, because he was just great, had the same impact on everybody that he met. Everybody in here because he made an impact in your life in some way. And I've got a feeling that where we're going at 1 o'clock is going to be even more busy. So thanks everybody for being here. He wouldn't believe the turnout at either event, because he never would have imagined that this many people loved him and cared for him or appreciated him, because everything that he did, he just did because he knew it was right. So he never expected people to share this kind of compassion or be there in this type of situation. He was, like Michelle said, just a guy, but he always did what he thought was right. And I just appreciate everybody for being here. So he's a hell of a guy.
So we're going to hear another tribute from Taylor, Perry's daughter. Taylor, can you come forward?
Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm his youngest daughter. I've been trying to figure out how to stand up here and talk about my dad, and the truth is, I don't think I'll ever have the right words. Because he wasn't just my dad. He was everything to me and everyone around him. My dad loved cars, anything fast, loud, and exciting. That's what he lived for. And honestly, that's how he lived his life too. He didn't do anything half-assed. He went all in, all the time. And that's something I'll always admire about him. And his jokes, they were the best. Even if they were completely inappropriate half the time. But that was him. He could make me laugh no matter what was going on, and I would give anything to hear one more of his dirty jokes. I was such a daddy's girl. When I was little, I actually stole one of his blankets off his bed, and I called it my daddy blanket. I carried it everywhere with me. I think even then, I just wanted to feel close to him all the time. And honestly, that never really changed. Being his youngest daughter was something so special to me. I got a version of him that was so soft, so patient, and so full of love. He made me feel safe in a way that no one else ever could. No matter what happened, I knew I had him. I keep thinking about all the little moments, the conversations, the laughs, just being around him, and I wish more than anything I could have one more of those. This doesn't feel real, and it still doesn't make sense, and I don't know when it ever will. But what I do know is that I'm gonna miss him forever. Dad, I hope you knew how much I loved you. I hope you felt it every day. I hope I made you proud, because I was always so proud to be your daughter. Thank you for loving me the way you did, and thank you for being my dad. I'll carry you with me in everything I do. I love you always.
And now it's Bob Brandenburg's turn, Perry's little brother. Please come and share about Perry.
Thank you all for being here today to celebrate Perry. We really appreciate it. For those of you who don't know me, I am Perry's little brother, Bob, and I'm speaking on behalf of my sisters, Ellie and Bernie, as well. I'm going to give fair notice that I might use some colorful language, but those who are here know him pretty well, and I don't think it's going to shock anyone. My sister was kind enough to provide me with one of Perry's greatest joys, a new pair of socks that I'm wearing. On these socks, it reads, "I'm just gonna what the fuck my way through this shit." I think he would appreciate it. So that's what you're gonna get. Weren't we also lucky to have Perry in our lives? They say that sibling relationships are typically the longest we experience in life. These relationships are involuntary, deep, continuous, complicated, and intense. If there's a scale to measure our relationship with Perry, it would break under the sheer weight of our love for him. We went at the art of being siblings extremely hard. But there is no adequate measure for how much we love and miss our confident, clever, mischievous, funny, direct, intelligent, loving, protective MacGyver of a brother. Boy, do we wish we had longer with him. Perry was born with an adventurous spirit right from the get-go and lived his life with his hair on fire. At 3 years old, he ate entire can of our father's chewing tobacco. Good way to start it out. He would sneak into the old Chevy Suburban when it was parked outside to raid the ashtray and smoke the remnants of our dad's spent cigarettes. He would light fires, literally and figuratively, right at the end of our house on the Wyoming Prairie. No need for that. It was just a wood-built house, so no worries there. Just to see what would happen. He honed his mechanic skills on an old 57 Chevy that we literally tore every piece out of in the driveway. This car was affectionately named the Junker. He also loved nothing more than to provoke our mother while she was driving and would dance just outside of her reach. There was no seatbelts back then, so you could move. All while she attempted to whack him, as he called her, monkey ears, monkey ears. We'd like to think his knack for verbal sparring could be credited to our childhood, our trash talking, but Perry was born with those skills for sure. He was a swimmer, a wrestler, had a business mowing lawns, rode his BMX bike around. He was legally blind and still excelled in shoe. He refused to wear his glasses, mostly because he stood up to the bullies on the bus because they were calling him Four Eyes, Four Eyes. So he just decided to do without him. Don't need to see anything. He did. He fiercely loved a $500 black Labrador Retriever when we were young that he trained. This dog ate $80 off of Perry's dresser. And of course, Perry, doing the math, said, well, now he's worth $580. He could solve a Rubik's Cube or any other puzzle effortlessly. He would take cookies from the cookie jar and tell our mom it was the elves or the reindeer. He did not appreciate grades, but he certainly gets an A+ for hard work, creativity, persistence, and humor. And we, his siblings, got to laugh and learn from it every single day. As his brother, I got to spend many moments with him, and it's difficult to limit what I share today, but I've chosen a select handful. I think we can all agree Perry was a menace, and he was fearless, but in the best way possible. In high school, our mother left us for a week to visit our sister who was going to school in Iowa. Perry was a junior, I was a freshman. She left a key to her brand new Honda Accord, but gave strict instructions that we were not to drive it unless Perry's car happened to break down. She also left some cash for us to go grocery shopping. Within hours, said grocery money turned into a fridge full of beer. But in fairness, we did have someone buy that at the grocery store. This was during the winter, and in Coos Bay, there is rarely a freeze or a snow, but we happened to get both in one day. Neither of us were much for homework, go figure. So that evening, he grabbed the key to the new car and said, let's go. Before I knew it, we were on an isolated new street where no houses had been built yet, and he's doing e-brake 360s on the ice in this brand new car. All I could think was, I hope we don't wreck this thing. But he was confident, always pushing the limits. In our 20s, we went elk hunting on the Oregon coast. One morning, there was a hailstorm filling the road with natural ball bearings, causing his Blazer to slide off the road and go tumbling down the hill, with us, guns, ammo, and lots of other things flying among us. We gathered our belongings, got a tow truck to get the rig pulled out, and we were back out hunting by the afternoon. Nothing could slow him down, ever. At one point, we were neighbors for a brief period. Occasionally, he would stroll across the street, walk into the house unannounced, just to take a dump in our bathroom. Then cheerily walk out the door, back to his house. This was solely an effort to annoy us, especially my wife, Joelle. I have heard so many stories over the last 10 days that really made me laugh and just remember him. But I've thought about the endearing qualities within all of those stories. He was humorous, quick-witted, creative, mechanically brilliant, often combining them, all of them in the same instant. But one quality that really resonates throughout these stories was his willingness to help anyone at any time. Here are a couple of my favorite examples. We both loved water sports, and we both owned several boats over the years. One thing about Perry, as a brother, I could always count on him, and I do mean always. Anytime I needed help, he was there. On one occasion, my wife and I decided to go camping on the Columbia River with another couple that we were friends with. We loaded up the boat with some of our gear, drove across the river, into the river, left our friends and some of the stuff on the beach to unpack, and we headed back to the boat ramp to get the rest of the gear. That's when the drive shaft on the boat sheared off and left us powerless in the main channel of the Columbia River. I got a hold of Perry on the cell phone, trying to figure out suggestions to both rescue our friends and ourselves. This is the one damn time Perry didn't have a boat. He immediately rallied and called our dear friend Graham Bailey, who did have a boat. The other couple didn't have a cell phone. They had no idea what had happened to us. This has been hours. It took a few hours for them to get the boat onto the river, and it was now pitch black. We told them to go get our friends first, and Perry, the menace, struck again. He knew exactly where they were at by what we had described, and him and Graham slowly idled towards the shore. When Graham got close, Perry lit up the beach with a spotlight. In less than comforting voice yelled, "Do you need a ride?" Reluctantly, they said yes. His response, "Well, can you squeal like a pig?" Scaring the absolute heck out of them before he started laughing and letting them know that he had been sent to help. And later, they came to rescue us as well. Again, always willing to help, on multiple occasions, he helped me with projects involving heavy equipment. And a couple of them were legendary. In one case, he was going to help run a bulldozer for me while I was on an extended trip overseas. He came to check out what I wanted him to do, and I had flagged off a septic pipe in my backyard, like put flags all around it. Just, don't touch it. And after I left, he came over, got started, and he never did anything slow. I think we all know that about Perry. He hit the pipe. My wife and kids were out of town for a baseball tournament, and he knew they would be home soon and would need the pipe fixed. You know, there's no Cousin Eddie here. Can't say the shitter's full. The pipe was 10 feet deep, and it was getting dark. One of the early dates Michelle and Perry had, Michelle holding a flashlight while he dug to the septic pipe that was, no kidding, 10 feet deep. So he dug down to fix the shitter pipe. So I'd like to think that this twilight date led to some of his most peaceful years with the love of his life. But I know it was all them. My sisters and I will sorely miss everything about Perry. I was so lucky to work with and live near Perry over the last 30 years, and I will be forever grateful that I was able to spend so much time with him, but it'll never be enough. We were mistaken for twins often, and I'm not sure who that was a compliment to. But today it all goes in Perry's favor. He thumped me as a big brother should to establish the correct pecking order. He blazed a trail for me my entire life. I will miss my twin, my father figure during my formative years, my big brother, and my best friend, all wrapped into one amazing person. In closing, I urge everyone here to enjoy moments with loved ones, friends, and most of all, your siblings who know you for your whole life. Thank you.
Looking back on the memory of the dance we shared beneath the stars above. For a moment, all the world was right. How could I have known that you'd ever say goodbye? And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. Holding you, I held everything for a moment. Wasn't I the king? But if I'd only known how the king would fall, hey, who's to say? You know I might have changed it all. And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Our lives are better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. It's my life, it's better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance.
Supposed to ask you if you want to eat a crab enchilada.
No.
Every time I think of you, it always turns out good. Every time I've held you,
I thought you understood. People say a love like ours will surely pass, but I know a love like ours will last and last. But maybe I was wrong not knowing how our love should go. How our love should go. But I wasn't wrong not knowing how our love would grow. How our love would grow. And every time I think of you, every time I think of you, every single time, it always turns out good. Seasons come and seasons go, but our love will never die. Let me hold you, darling, so you won't cry. 'Cause people say that our love affair will never last, but we know a love like ours will never pass. But maybe I was wrong not knowing how our love should go. How our love should go. But I wasn't wrong not knowing how our love would grow. How our love would grow. And every time I think of you, every time I think of you, every single time, it always turns out People say a love like ours will surely pass, but I know a love like ours will last and last. But maybe I was wrong not knowing how our love should go. How our love should go. But I wasn't wrong not knowing how our love would grow. How our love would grow. Every time I think of you, every time I think of you, every time I think of you, it always turns out good. Every time I think of you, 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 every time I think of you.
So, Jacob, another one of Perry's sons, would like to come up and share a few words of comfort.
How does one distill the greatest man he's ever known down to a 2-minute speech? I look around the room and I see the many faces of the people whom he has touched over the years, and I know that I don't have to. My family and I have been overwhelmed by your sympathy over the past couple weeks, not only because of the love you've poured out into us, but because it reminded us of the impact that my dad had on the community. Today I'm reminded of a quote from Ray West, which says, "As I stand here today, I'm reminded of the first time my children ever got the opportunity to be in snow. And when we walked outside in the snow, they were very fearful in terms of the steps that they would take. What I did was I walked in front of them, and I took steps, and I said to them, instead of creating your own footprints, walk in the footprints that I've already made." That is the kind of man my father was, a man who quietly demanded that we walk in the footprints he had already made, that we learn from his mistakes, but also from his great success. And I'm sure you all agree that the only success that he truly cared about was his loving family and extended family. Losing a man like Perry Brandenburg is like the burning of a great library, only much more destructive, because not only did his wisdom rival that of King Solomon, but the love that he offered to those around him will never be matched and will leave a Perry-shaped hole in our hearts forever. As we transition to a time of prayer, I wanted to drop the sad sappiness and instead speak hope and reassurance, as I'm sure my father would much prefer. In the famous Sermon on the Mount, the Lord Jesus said, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." The Lord has promised that he will wipe every tear from our eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. For he who is seated on the throne said, "I am making all things new." Now let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today as we celebrate the life of a great man, my earthly father, Perry Brandenburg. Lord, we thank you for the 59 years of life that you graciously gave to him, and for the many years of joy, laughter, and love that we got to experience because of him. Lord, we pray for your mercy and love to wash over all of us who mourn the loss of such a beautiful man. We pray that you would give us the strength and peace to be able to celebrate and rejoice in a manner that is fitting for such an amazing man. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? Thanks be to God, which give us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you all for being here.
Today, the final tribute will be words from his son Eric and his daughter Katie. And I think, Katie, you are the reader.
Thank you to everybody who came today to show their love for my dad. I'd like to start with a few words from my brother Eric. He said, "I've always been a man of few words. I've spent a lot of my life listening because my dad was the kind of man who always had something worth hearing. He taught me that when the stakes are high and when the people you love need you, you show up. I'm not here because I have to be. I'm here because he's the man who made me who I am. So I'm showing up today for him, exactly how he taught me." Thank you. And for me, I have many stories that I could have shared, many of very proud moments where I got to see the most incredible smile on his face, but I'm going to try to keep it short. If there's one thing everyone here knows, it's that my dad always thought of himself as just a guy, as you've heard many times. But to all of us, he was so much more. He was kind, fair. He was always there when you needed him. He'd do anything and give anything to help those he loved. He loved deeply his wife, his kids, his grandkids, and he showed it in the little things, dancing in the kitchen, working on his cars, making people smile, and secret berry deliveries for his grandbabies. To me, he wasn't just a great man. He was my dad, my call when I needed help, and my example of what it means to love well. We're all better because of him, and we'll carry him with us in how we treat each other and how we show up, and the stories we'll keep telling. In closing, a quote that stuck with me was, "Unable are the loved to die, for love is immortality." Thank you.
In closing, as we honor Perry, remember, grief looks different for everyone. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. It isn't something we complete or move past, but something that changes us quietly, permanently. For those closest to him, that grief can be bone deep. You'll look the same on the outside, but the world feels so different now. Help one another, as Perry would, unselfishly, wholeheartedly, and with no expectation of anything in return. Be like Perry. This is truly the greatest way you can honor him. And with that, this concludes this memorial. You're invited to 1 p.m. to the Cowlitz Event Center for celebration honoring Perry. Thank you so much for coming.
everyone, if I could just have your attention for a second. So first and foremost, on behalf of Michelle and the Brandenburg children and his siblings, also his mom Janet, who couldn't be here today, we just wanted to say that this is amazing, that we are so grateful for all of you. Thank you for wearing your hoodies and your fresh socks if you have them on. And, Perry was, I will say, one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met. Not just that he could fix and do anything and helped countless times with things around the house for myself and my husband, but also the main thing was the way that he changed my sister's life and the couple that they were together. There are not a lot of people who are fortunate enough to go through a lot of relationships and then somehow in your late 20s, like they were, find each other and have it be so exact. And it just worked. And for those of you who know Michelle, she's pretty feral. And somehow I ended up, and her daughter will tell you this too, we ended up with a domesticated version of a woman that we'd really never seen this happy, this settled, this content. And it was beautiful to watch. And I just really hope that all of you will continue to remind her of how special she is, not just because she's Perry's widow, but because she was everything to Perry and he was everything to her. And with their families and their friends, their colleagues, it worked. It was wonderful. And he will be so missed. If anybody wants to put in applications for helping my husband and I figure out our lives, like our deck project, etc., we'll be taking applications. So again, about me once more.
Well, Perry took all his building advice from me.
Oh, he did. Okay, so Nick says he actually took all his building advice from Nick. Yeah, and I watched a lot of YouTube, so I helped. So that being said, we just wanted to, one, thank you. Two, say please enjoy the food, especially the steak bites and the cheesecake. Diet Pepsi cans, if you know, you know, and just reminisce. We're really glad you're here. We're going to open the floor up, but we're going to start with somebody who knows both Perry and Michelle quite well, and he's going to try to keep it PG, but this is not the PG party. This is the earmuffs if you're fragile. So thank you for being here, and we love you guys.
Michelle doesn't let me touch technology.
I'm sorry, Michelle said he can't touch the mic, no technology for him, so
Yeah,
he's just going to lean over it. He listens well.
It's funny when I kind of inherited I asked for the IT department at work because I thought I'd finally be able to control the god-awful music in the office, but it turns out they still play god-awful music. It's better lately, though. You suck. No, she's way better. I mean, I'm not kidding you. It used to be, Scottish sheep herder music, then flute, then polka. I know, it was just the worst. But I look around here, and before I start, I look around and I see all these faces, and all of you knew Perry in your own ways. Some of you knew him longer than I did. You all probably knew a different version than I did. But I look in this room and I see so many people. There are NORPAC people. There are a lot of Dynawave people. And before I said anything else, I was just sitting over there thinking, no one besides Perry Brandenburg can bring these two mills together the way he did, the way we belong. It doesn't matter who owns what old rich guy out east or out west owns. These two mills were intended to be one. And Perry really embodied that. It was never damn Dynawave this or dumbass NORPAC that. It was just guys trying to make money for this so they can put their kids in braces or through school. And that's what we are. That's who we are. And I listened to a lot of funny memories. Bob, I don't know where Bob is. He had some very funny memories of him growing up with his lunatic brother, and it was great hearing that. And I wanted to share something with you, a different perspective. And one thing that I don't think any of you know, my wife just found out about it accidentally today at lunch because, as Michelle knows, I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut. I knew Perry when Perry was his worst. That's when I started with Perry. Perry was battling his demons, and his demons for a while had won. They were winning, and it cost him a lot. And Perry is different than most of us in that all of us, we have the luxury of fighting our demons in private. And we all have them, right? Whether it's this or that, or we all have something. But not Perry. Perry's life came crashing down very publicly. There was no hiding from it. There was no playing it off as something small. What he went through was freaking huge. It was humiliating. It was life-setting, changing. And that's when I became so proud of him. Because Perry took it like a man that he was. He wore it. I remember sitting with him in our pastor's office, Pastor John, who's also since passed away. And Rob, were you there? I think you were there too. And we were sitting, and Perry is a lot more spiritual than most people know. But he's the kind of, I like to look at him as the kind of Christian that they're supposed to be, not the kinds that show up to church on Sunday. But Perry, I was just marveled at him. I don't know how I could have handled that. If you think about it, that was the thing he was most embarrassed about, most ashamed of. The alcoholism. Wasn't really his fault. There are people that can tell you it's a medical thing, it's a life condition thing, or whatever it was. But it deeply embarrassed him. But Perry, like everything else that's been broken in his life, he got up and he fixed the shit. He just did. And I said to myself, I don't think I have the strength to do what that guy does, but I'm going to follow him. I'm going to follow Perry, and I would follow Perry anywhere. And then I thought more and more about Perry and Michelle over the years, and I said to myself, this is a guy whose life turned into a huge heap of ashes. Everything was wrong. Nothing tasted right. It was all just crap. But then what Perry did, he rose up from those ashes and he reinvented himself into something totally new, something so much better than most of us. Perry is the phoenix. Perry is the phoenix. He rose from the ashes and he became something so much better. I remember telling him, this isn't the end of you. You have great things awaiting. And, I don't know where the hell she is, but Michelle's around here somewhere. There she is. That was the greatest thing waiting for him. He didn't know at the time. But Perry was a phoenix. He's something we can all aspire to. So what Perry would want, whatever you're carrying inside you that burns, maybe you're ashamed of it. Maybe you're afraid of what people think of you when they find out. Rip it out. Expose it. Kill it. That's what Perry would tell you. Because Perry went from the most miserable guy I knew to someone that smiles on the outside. See, I sing on the inside. I smile on the inside. I don't look it. I'm always looking grumpy, but Perry figured out how to smile on the outside because Perry transformed his life. Because he said, damn it, I'm not going to be this thing anymore. That's why I'm so proud of him. That's why I love him, because he's my hero. And then you have Michelle, who's somehow that phoenix turned into two phoenix birds, two of them now. Two of them with so much ash in their life. And they soar higher than I ever thought possible. So my heart, while it goes out to Michelle in ways that, I can't enumerate because there's no words. I love them both. I'm proud of them both. I will miss Perry deeply. I know right now, somewhere in heaven, he's saying, Nick, shut the F up, you're taking too much time. So with that, I'd like to invite anybody else that wants to come up and say something nice about Perry. If you say something bad about Perry, I will show you that these old bones still have some kick-ass left in them. But thank you for listening to me. To his...
Good afternoon. I'm just going to tell a little story about my friend and try to keep it less than 4 minutes, so the next person get ready to go. I had the pleasure of traveling to Japan with Perry on his very first trip in 1993, and I also had the pleasure of going with him last November on his last trip. Big contrast between the two trips, and I think some of it is worth sharing. In 1993, Perry was the quality advocate on Sea Crew, and I remember I ran into Trig here earlier, and I didn't say hi to him, but I was watching him, and Trig was the foreman, and anyway, I convinced Bill Baird, who was our department manager at the time, that we needed to take Perry to Japan on a tech service trip because I thought he had potential, and I think later on he proved that he did. But Bill supported the idea, and we met. Our plan was to meet a cab at 8:30 in the morning on our first day to start our trip. This is staying at this fancy hotel in Tokyo called the Imperial. And anyway, I got up early, starched my shirt, spent 15 minutes tying my tie and getting it just so. Getting my hair, I had a lot more hair back then, so I had to get my hair styled just how I wanted it. And anyway, kind of feeling a little stressed about the Japanese market and looking good with our suits and whatnot with Perry. But, 9:20 or 8:20, 10 minutes before we had to meet for the cab, I hear a knock at my door. I go look out the little man door there. And there's Perry all dressed up in his suit, ready to go. He pushed one, after I unlocked the door, he pushed open the door. Good morning. Actually, he said, good morning, bitch. And he comes hauling in, shoves me out of the way, grabs me, gives me a big bear hug, dumps me on the ground. We wrestle on the floor, messed up my tie, pulled off my hair was a terrible mess, but nonetheless, we pulled ourselves together because we knew we only had 10 minutes to get ourselves downstairs. At first, I was extremely angry, and Perry explained to me, your stress level's too high, and I wanted to calm you down, so just mellow out. Anyway, all I could do was laugh, but I realized this was Perry. He was fun, he was unpredictable, he had unexpected behaviors. There was never a dull moment. He used these skills to calm things down when things got stressful. And I think we can all learn from that, and we all have learned to some degree, but there's more to be had from Perry as we think about and reflect on our times with him. We both looked a little sloppy from going on. We only had a few minutes to get downstairs. We did. I was feeling kind of bad. He says to me, Graham, he says, it's our integrity and our sincerity that will be more important to our customers than how we look. So anyway, that was sort of a strategy that him and I used for our careers, and I think it's worked well for both of us, but we kind of stumbled in upon that at that moment. Fast forward to November 2025. Perry and I were back in Japan for the last time. COVID has changed the dress code in Japan. No longer do you need a necktie, a lot more relaxed atmosphere. Same meeting time, as 1993. We had to be in the lobby at 8:30. This time, I'm happy to not be wearing my tie and more relaxed. At this time, 8:20, same time, I get a knock at my door. This time, it's going to go a little different. I open the door. Perry says, "Good morning." No expletives at all. It was very classy. He's dressed perfectly, thanks to Michelle, I'm sure, but he looked like $1 million. Anyway, I said, "Perry, why are you wearing a tie? Didn't you know the dress code has changed?" He says, "I am the mill manager now. I need to look good for our customers." My friend had come a long way in 32 years. I will say that Perry was a great friend. We learned a lot together. We grew up together. And I'm going to miss him a lot. So thanks for coming. Okay. Next, who's up?
If you look around, as has been already stated, Perry has been important to each and every one of us in unique ways. And that is, he can and could do so many things uniquely. And so we are gifted with the memory of that for the rest of our lives. So I don't have the historical breadth Graham does. I do have a little bit. And most of that's between Perry and me. But man, those hugs were awesome. You'd feel them in your spine. And they would never be at just the right time. But yes, they would. For those of us who were with him when he was trying to take us together, never by himself, always one of the team, but usually just a little bit ahead, smacking his head against the brick wall that nobody was supposed to be able to get through. And I can only speak to experiences with him at NORPAC, but a little bit at Nippon. I'll always remember him telling me, and I doubted him, but in the end, we can make that machine do whatever we want. And that was the number 2 machine. I remember being asked to take that machine, do things that had never been done before, and we were given 2 weeks. And so Perry and Sean and Larry and Steve and the team, I just sat back and sort of watched in awe that group of people do something that had never been done before in 2 weeks, that most people tried and failed. And that was sort of the nature of Perry. And it wasn't just Perry, it was just what he brought out of people around him. I think it's God-given. So, one morning I get a text. "Hey, Rob, you got time for coffee?" I don't drink coffee. But one Saturday we got together, and he had been promoted. He didn't know for how long. He didn't know if it'd be a month or a week. And he had been thinking at the time, before that, he was like, maybe it's time to move on, retire, like so many in here have. And you all look younger than the last time I saw you, those that are retired. So he just wanted to, because I have I got a little bit of experience in managing stuff, and he just wanted to listen and just do what we used to do. And so we met, and I spent an hour there before before I came here. I said, why are you doing it, Perry? It's going to be hard. Nick, contracts are contracts, they're words on paper. Contracts, to what Graham said, it's about integrity, it's about sincerity, it's about living the words. It's more than what the words say or don't say. And that's what Perry was all about. But back to why did he take it on? I mean, the lift that is going on at Nippon Dynawave and at NORPAC, systems that were designed to be together that have been ripped apart, and trying to bring them both back up as phoenixes themselves, as Nick was saying. He says, I just want to help that group of people reach the potential that they can meet, that I know that is there. And he put everything he had into that. Just like he put everything he had into his marriage to Michelle, to his family, to all that you see around. The dude did not have second gear. He just went from first to fifth or sixth or whatever the highest gear there is. But I saw the same thing Graham did, which was a few trips, like Sean, and the trips at the beginning versus the trips at the end. His maturation is just, I think miraculous is a good word. And he impacted all of us through that. But he cared so much about each and every person in this room. And he gave everything for it. Thank you.
So I shared a few stories this morning that kind of resonated with Perry. I've got a million more of those if anybody's got a lot of time, but I mean, there's a lot of material that I just can't get through. But Perry touched all of these people in this room, and then I started getting messages from the East Coast, from Japan. Yeah, we had customers. She had customers in common from NORPAC and Nippon Dynawave, and then the number of expats that came through both NORPAC and Nippon Dynawave. He maintained relationships for all these years. And so I'm gonna play a voice message from one of our customers, Jeff Hansen at Horizon Paper, that he sent to me because he was unable to be here. He really wanted to, but couldn't be here. So I'll do that first. And then I've got a few messages from some of the expats that he's known over many, many years. So here we go.
So I could tell you stories about how Perry figured out that I drove through 3 states with no oil in my truck. He saved me from having a seized engine. I could tell you stories of how the two of us spent an entire night with a customer picking on Jack and laughing our heads off while Jack's last feeling got hurt. I could tell you about all of our sober excursions. But I'll tell you about the time that after meetings and dinner in Longview, when Perry finds out that Zach's iPhone has been stolen again. It's decided that we can't let these high school kids get away with it. He lost one phone already, and it's not cheap. So 3 grown men, Perry, Jack, and I, myself in business attire, go running through the streets of Longview to try to track down an iPhone that teenage kids have stolen. We think the phone is in one place, and then follow to another. We end up in some barn-like structure where we realize there's a hornet's nest. We ran out of there like we were being chased by a tiger. Eventually, we tracked down these kids and get the phone back. I thought we were going to end up in jail for harassing children, but hey, in Longview, you can do anything, right? Well, it was always an adventure with Perry, adventures that I've missed. I've always wished I lived in the Pacific Northwest with my true friends. I'll miss you always, Perry. Love you, man.
So Jeff and Perry had a long relationship through many business situations, and he did say there was only one time out of the tough business that they did that there was a disagreement. So, they managed to work things out all the time. I'm going to read a couple more that I have here from some of our friends overseas. This one is from Nobo Morita. He spent a couple of tours at NORPAC. He spent a tour at Nippon Dynawave, and they were truly very good friends. Dear Michelle and family, I was deeply saddened to hear about Perry's loss. Please accept my heartfelt condolences. For over 30 years, our friendship has meant so much to me, and my thoughts are with you and your family during this difficult time. Wishing you strength and peace. Sincerely, Nobo Morita. Another one, Billy Ito, who did span both NORPAC and Nippon Dynawave, so everybody knows he was just one of the kindest men. He said, Dear Perry, you were my best teacher, both about paper and making English. Now, we all know what kind of English Perry spoke, so there was some value as an expat learning about the culture of the U.S., I guess. So, thank you for the wonderful memories. You will be greatly missed. Billy Ito. This one is from Hiro, a young engineer that just actually went back to Japan. He was an excellent engineer. He and Perry hit it off. They joked that Perry was his dad and he was his son, which made me he was my nephew, if I can figure that out right. Anyways, they spent a lot of time traveling to Finland, working on new machinery and new projects, and truly forged a great relationship. So here is Hiro's message. I have been thinking about you a lot. I still do not want to believe that the world has lost such a wonderful man. You meant so much to so many people, including me. You were an amazing paper machine man, coworker, friend, and like a dad to me. You were always positive and energetic. When you were diagnosed with cancer, you said, do not say sorry. It is not a big deal. I can overcome it. When I told you I was sorry, your way of thinking always inspired me and others and changed our lives in a positive way. Please rest peacefully. I will never forget you. Thank you, my dear friend. I am truly grateful that I had the chance to meet you. So, those are some of the messages from across the Pacific Ocean. So just wanted to share those because they couldn't be here. But I know there's a lot more stories out there. I wish people would not be shy because some of the best medicine I've had over the last 10 days was some stories that I was absolutely belly laughing, rolling on the floor of some of the things that Perry did. He did not live he may have lived a short life, but he packed a lot into those years. So please feel free to come up and share.
Good afternoon. I'm Frank McShane. I'm a consultant with Nippon Dynawave. And so if you can stop by and drop off your watch on the way out and I'll tell you what time it is, that would be appreciated. I got to know Perry later. I've only known him for about a year and worked with him as a consultant. And I have to say that I grew as much as a consultant as he did as a mill manager. And I learned a lot from him that way. One meeting we had a regular Friday meeting with Harvey Dowling and Jeff Early. And in one of those meetings, I was asking Harvey questions, and Perry kept answering them. And so I shushed him, which, Michelle, you're probably familiar with that, having to do that. And I think Harvey and Jeff kind of were a little shocked by, hey, God, you shushed Perry. But Perry, in his unique way, he took it like, yeah, okay. I'm supposed to be quiet. I'm supposed to let the other guy answer the questions because it's his responsibility, not mine. And that was an indicator to me of sort of the character of the man, that he was never taken with title or artificial authority, etc. He was just a natural leader and a natural person. And what you see was what you got with Perry. And so it was my pleasure to get to know him later in his life, and I'll carry those lessons with me. So here's a toast to Perry, if you would, please, with whatever you're drinking. Here's to Perry.
I'm Trig, the one that Graham was referring to. I actually had the privilege of working with Perry and Bob, both, but it didn't start out that way. I met Perry in 1991. He came to Sea Crew Export, and I wasn't all that impressed when I very first met him. He didn't seem to be the kind of kid that was going to work out, but he did. He really did. And I got to experience a lot of the things that everybody else did. I would love to tell you that we took the credit for naming him MacGyver, which I did not watch until after I met Perry, only once, because I wanted to really know what this was all about. But if you had baling wire, duct tape, and chewing gum, this guy was incredible. He could literally build anything out of that. And we had lots of that in the mill, so we were very lucky. On one such occasion, we had these cleaners on our machine. I don't know if anybody knows anything about cleaners. They're just a cylinder. The ones we had leaked really bad. They had plastic parts in them. You don't ever want plastic parts on a paper mill. Anyway, they kept leaking at the bottom. Perry comes out there. He looks at it. He's got a tape measure. He measures it. He says, just a minute. He leaves. About 5 minutes later, he comes back with a 4x4 and 2 wedges. He puts the 4x4 underneath the cleaner, pounds in the wedges. Problem solved. Way to go. Way to go. I only need like 200 more of them, but hey, it's a start, right? So it was a great pleasure meeting him. The stories go on and on and on. When he went to Dynawave, I'm like, Perry, what are you doing? And he's like, this is my future. This is where I'm gonna go. A few years ago, I'm coming through the gate. The car behind me, the lights are flashing on and off. It's Perry. I get out of the car, he gets out of the car, he gives me one of those hugs that everybody talks about, and he thanks me for his experience on Sea Crew in the 90s, because he's just been named the mill manager of the Dynawave plant. So I gotta be honest, it's a tough thing. I don't really understand why he took that job, but now that I've heard everybody talk, I get it. I totally get it. Anyway, I'm gonna miss him dearly. He was a great friend. Thank you.
Hello, I'm the Jack that Jeff was referring to on that voice message. So I had the privilege of working with Perry. He worked with me on my crew, and when he started, or I don't know when he started, but probably after he worked with you, Trig. And then I had Bob follow him. So I enjoyed working him on the operations side, but mostly it was his tech service and new product development that I worked with him at NORPAC. And Perry and I worked on the book publishing side, developing papers. He really was the driver. But I'll never forget that Perry and I, when we didn't travel together, every now and then, I'd be out there in there and something would hit the fan, and I go, call Perry, we're having these problems at Penguin Random House. You got to fix this, you got to fix that. And he'd stop me. Jack, stop right there. Why don't you ask me how I'm feeling, how I'm doing? And that's, if you know Perry, he's like, okay, so how you doing, Perry? So I changed my habits. So whenever I called Perry, I said, how you doing, Perry? And that was great. Flash forward 6 months, Perry calls me from the road. Jack, we're having all sorts of problems. You got to go check this out. You got to do this. I go, whoa. Are you going to ask me how I'm doing? So that's it. I think the other thing I appreciated most about Perry is he didn't care who got credit. He'd just get the job done. And I saw that day in and day out. So when he went next door, I was kind of irritated because we lost a great man, and it really irritated me. But I wish him the best, and I'm going to miss him. So thank you, guys.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Peerboom. I'm the president at Nippon Dynawave Packaging, and I can honestly say I have the privilege of knowing Perry Brandenburg. I wore my sweatshirt in support, because if you see in the pictures, he was a University of Oregon fan, and so we had a few debates. So in honor of that, I'm wearing this. So I also have had the privilege of spending several months consulting over at NORPAC. And while I was consulting over there, I kept hearing this name, well, Perry Brandenburg. And I said, well, who's this legend, Perry Brandenburg, and where's he at? And they said, well, he left, he went next door. Well, a couple of years later, I get the opportunity to go over to Nippon Dynawave, and I got to meet the legend, but more importantly, I got to work with the legend. And the things I'll say about Perry, the first thing is my wife will tell you that she would know when I spent a lot of time with Perry during the day based on the amount of F-bombs I was using when I got home. So that's the first part about Perry. Perry also taught the leadership team some new terms. So we were having a meeting, and I asked, do we need to take a break? And Perry said, yes, I need one because I need a de-breakfast. And so that is a new term that we have used whenever we need to take a break, and it's a Perryism. My leadership team at Nippon has taken upon themselves to give me a bad time. Perry, no exception to that, because I bought an electric vehicle a few months ago. And these guys use it as an opportunity to harass me. And so one day I'm sitting there with Perry, and he's giving me the business about this car I bought. And I said, Perry, it's got your transmission in it. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, it's got one gear. And if anything you know about Perry is he had one gear. And it was the same. His first vacation as the vice president of operations at Nippon, I believe it was to help his son remodel his house. And that's the way Perry operated at NORPAC, through his career at Nippon. But most importantly, our meetings during the day often ended up in talking about family. And I can't tell you how much he cared about his family, and the family extends to his beloved dogs, and how he went about his life. And so I can honestly say I learned more from Perry Brandenburg than he would ever learn from me. I will miss him dearly, not because he's the vice president of operations, but because the friend he became and the conversations we had and how he talked about and how much he loved the people at Nippon Dynawave Packaging. So I appreciate everybody coming out today. I know the family does too, so we'll miss you, Perry. Thank you.
I'm Monica Harding. I worked with Perry at Nippon. I'm in HR. And so every day Perry would walk by, and I would casually call Bobbert, and then Perry overheard Bob call me Harmonica one day. And so from that point on, every time he walked past my office, it was always Harmonica. And so one of my favorite memories of Perry is, actually, it's multiple, but every time we had customers come in and he'd have to dress up, and he'd wear his khakis and his dress shirt, and clearly by everybody's hoodies, you know, that's not his preferred uniform. And so every time I'd see him, I'd be like, ooh, fancy pants, Perry. And he'd just growl at me, kind of glare. So that was just one of those interactions that I would always enjoy. And the day before he passed, he walked past my office, and I stopped him. He's like, on? I was like, Perry, I like your face today. You have a nice smile. It's been a while since I've seen a smile on your face. And he just said, I've got a lot to be thankful for. So just thought you guys would all like to hear that happy sound.
Hi there. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Katie. I'm Perry's oldest daughter. I thought this would be easier. I speak to little people for a living, or did, but big people are always a lot different. I just hear a lot of stories about Perry from the mill. I just thought I'd share a couple things of Papa Perry. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, which you will see a lot of. But one of the things is, my dad just one day texted me while we were at church, and he's like, I left the kids a present. And something about my dad and Zach, wherever Zach is, They like to compete for who can get the messiest or loudest gift for my children. Finger paints, a drum set, ball pit balls, Nerf gun, for a 2-year-old. So I get that text and I'm like, great, wonderful. We'll see what they get when we get home. And we got home and it was a bag full of berries. And I don't know how many people know toddlers, but berries are like currency to toddlers. And I got home and opened that bag up, and Micah had to have 1 or 2 berries from every single one, and we had to strategically hide them because it was nap time. And it was something that we hadn't seen him for a couple weeks, and we hadn't even talked recently, but it was just drop off a bag of berries. Another one is we FaceTimed my dad multiple times a week, and in the morning if we FaceTimed, he knew he'd be at work, and he still asked for the meow meow. And if we FaceTimed at night, he knew he got to see said meow meow. But he'd open up and we're working on, Micah, you say, how are you, Papa Perry, first? And he'd try to say it and he'd go, Papa Perry, meow meow. And we're like, we're getting somewhere. And as soon as he got that out, then he'd start laughing hysterically and say, Mimi. And so my dad had to turn the camera and try to find Mimi, and he'd play peekaboo with Mimi. But then as soon as he saw her, he still wanted to talk to Papa Perry. He just wanted to be able to know that he could play peekaboo with Mimi. So I just wanted to share some of those things because he was never Perry from the mill for me. He was my dad, but he was my kid's papa. So thank you.
If Perry were here, you know what he'd say right now. It would be foul, it would be embarrassing, and he would tell y'all to quit being a bunch of babies and have a good time. But if you were gonna be a baby, what does he care? Do whatever you want. Loved to say that. So I'm gonna say that back to you guys. Thank you very much for being here. We're gonna just turn this into the Perry party that it was gonna be, that it is. And if anybody decides they have a burning desire to come up, then come up. But otherwise, we're gonna turn the music back on. Please, please eat. And if you leave here without eating cheesecake, were you really that attached to Perry? Just ask yourself this. Oh, we have to-go boxes for the cheesecake. Look at that. Thank you for being here. Eat, drink, be merry, enjoy, and Michelle and the family thanks you.